Hey, so I had some people ask me to do a Blade Master guide. Thought I'd do a bit of a PVE guide for you guys to start with. So, first of all, if you're interested in playing Blade Master and your ping is high, it's not a great class if you have high ping. Like my ping, as you can see right now, it's about 160, 150. When it goes low, it'll be down towards 120. When it's high, it'll be about 180. Now, when it's down to about 110, 120, I can get about 6 Dragon Tongues in. Now, on average, normally I'm about 5 Dragon Tongues. If my ping is high, it goes down to 4. So if you're somebody who's got like about 200, 180 ping, you're probably not going to be able to get more than 4 Dragon Tongues in, which is a huge DPS loss, because people with like 90 ping can do 7. So 7 to 4, big difference. 5 isn't too bad, and I can make do with it. And that's with like my average 150 ping usually. You can see here, when you go to an enemy, tab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or it was 5. But yeah, you can see the your ping effects, because all you're doing is you're hitting tab and holding R and B, and depending on your ping, you'll get off a certain number of Dragon Tongues, right? So if you're high ping, Blade Master's not a great class. But yeah, if you've got decent ping, like, you know, less than 150, have better. So I'm Hongman 14, so I have a lot of skill points, so a lot of the skills you see here you don't really need, just stuff that I picked out. So let's see here. Now Breeze, you need absolutely nothing in Breeze. It's your basic LMB. Breeze is this. You should never be hitting an enemy with this. You should always be in Draw Stance. Draw Stance is this, where you got your sword off to the side there. It changes your LMB to Flicker, and your RMB to Dragon Tongue. So Flicker there, you want to always have stage 3, tier 4, so all the way to the right and down. Now Cyclone, I like Cyclone, it's an iframe, and you can spec it for threat if you're tanking. If you're not tanking, spec it for, like, you know, to the right here, no threat on it. Pierce, I just put points in there. Sorry, I just put points in there because whatever, I got points, right? Also have the Hongmoon skill of that. You don't need this. Again, it's a regular stance attack. It's your that's Pierce. You shouldn't be attacking mobs with that. I mean, sometimes I use it just if I find myself not in draw stance and I'm out of Dragon Tongues, I might do it. But realistically, you don't need it. You don't need to use it. Yeah. So again, Flicker, you want your skill points in there, nothing in Breeze. Cyclone, you can spec for threat, or you can spec it over there for no threat. And then you got RMB, Pierce here, you don't need anything in there. Now Dragon Tongue, this is your main skill, this is your main DPS, this is everything you should be hitting an enemy with, is with your Dragon Tongue. So you want it set to stage 3, tier 2. No crash. Let's see here, Stomp, nothing there. Violent Blade. Now, Violent Blade is where, let's see here, I'll show it to you guys. If your block is a Blade Master, you want to block with Violent Blade. Into Draw Stance, do a little flicker, block. So when you block successfully with Violent Blade, it lets you do Dragon Tongues like that. One, two, yeah, depending on how quick you catch, like when you Violent Blade, the quicker you catch an attack with the Violent Blade while it's out, the more Dragon Tongues you're going to get off, is what I find. So, I mean, like, I'll try and show you here. So you got 4 Dragon Tongues there. So, if you time your Violent Blades for all your blocks and you figure out the bosses you're fighting and you do the combos properly, you can stay in Dragon Tongue the entire time. You should just be spamming Dragon Tongues out on your enemy. Blocking with your 1, you should never be blocking with that. But sometimes you just kind of are lazy and you're not really focused on what your enemy's attacks are. You'll end up doing it. But ideally, you're always in draw stance and you always catch your enemy's attack with Violent Blade, and you always spam Dragon Tongues out that way. But yeah, Violent Blade down to the right. This is Flame build, right? Take Flight, no points in it. PVE, you do not want to do aerials on your enemy. If you do aerials, it's a DPS loss for you as a Blade Master because your Dragon Tongue is your heavy DPS, and it's a DPS loss for your party. Lunar Slash. Oh, sorry, Crackling Blade here. That's just the skill that comes up when when a Blade Dancer or a Destroyer, they pick up an enemy and they restrain them. Crackling Blade is the skill that comes up. You can spam on the enemy with your F, and it does good damage. You don't have to put any points or anything to that. So Lunar Slash, this is your tab. This is what you do to let yourself spam Dragon Tongues. You want to have it on the left here, stage 1, tier 3. You can see it says conflagration effect for 3 seconds on a successful hit. That means when you successfully hit somebody with your tab, it's going to let you spam Dragon Tongue for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got 4 off there. I fucked that up, or was my ping high? Yeah, it was a bit high there. But you can see, so with your tab and your draw stance, you should be able to spam out a lot of Dragon Tongues. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 there. Now, ping's not that high. Should have been 5. Feel it doing too slow. But yeah, so that's your tab. Second wind. Now, when you PVE, this is something you could maybe just put 2 points into. Now, there's some dungeons like Ebondrake Citadel where the boss has a mechanic where you have to tab daze them. That's where you spec it to tab daze. I always just go left tree because, again, I got more points, so I'll put points in there. If you are lower level, you don't have that many points, you don't really have to worry too much about this, right? It's your second wind is where when you fall down, you get back up by pushing tab. Now block. Again, because you shouldn't be blocking in your regular stance, this isn't something you really need to worry about putting points into. You don't want to use this as this block. Remember, you want to use draw stance, and you want to use your Violent Blade that we showed you earlier. You want to use that for block, because it's going to let you spam Dragon Tongue. See, if you keep mixing it up together, you can spam a lot. So when you're coming up as a Blade Master, you don't need to put points really into your block, because you're also not likely to have Hogman block. That's your Hogman block. It puts a shield on you, and it puts a shield on your party members. It's a great iframe, especially for certain dungeons where you need to iframe your entire party. That's a great one to be using. But again, if you're coming up as a Blade Master, you're not going to have many points. You shouldn't be using it to block, and you don't need to spec it. And you're not going to have the Hogman skill, too, right? This is actually my favorite hot block, is this one right here. It's really cool, and I use it for PvP. A lot of people don't like it, but I find you can catch a lot of people off guard, you can catch their attack, and it will daze. We'll talk about PvP later. Let's just focus on PvE here. I come out of combat, so I can respect that there. Yeah, so again, you shouldn't be using it. If you get the Hogman skill, you're going to want to put points into it, but when you're coming up and you're leveling up, you don't need to worry about putting points into that. You should be using your Violent Blade. Now Rush, this is your 2 skill. You can spec it 2 ways. You can spec it for stun, which didn't stun that mob. But yeah, you can spec it for stun. Did I have it for stun or threat there? And you can spec it for threat. So you can see, once you get down to tier 2, you can go stun on it. Or you can spec it for threat. Now if you're tanking, if you're like, I can tank most dungeons without having to spec threat because my DPS will be high enough that I can hold threat. But if you're in a party where people got souls, like true souls, crit souls, and they're force masters, they're going to hit hard. You're going to have to throw threat skills in there, so you'd probably want to spec this for threat. So if you go the right tree here, that's your threat, and left tree is just stun. I usually like to keep it on the left tree because that way I can do double CC on boss mobs. I'll do my 2 and my X, which we'll talk about X later on in a sec here. Then there's Raid. Now Raid I'll use for threat. Now if you're not tanking, don't spec any threat skills ever. If you're not the tank in the party, unspec them because you'll annoy the tank by, you might think, oh, I'm doing awesome here, I'm pulling an aggro, I must be doing mad deeps. No, you're just throwing threat skills on the mob and you're pissing off the guy who's supposed to be tanking. But if you are tanking, then spec your threat. Or, yeah. But yeah, you can spec it for threat, or you can spec it for, this is a decreased movements. Yeah. I think you can use this raid here. It's the one you can use to increase, doesn't it? Does it not do that no more? Yeah, status effects. This you use some PvP. It's the one where, say someone's stunned, you can hit them with this, and it'll increase their length of the stun effect or days or knockdown, I believe, on them. I don't use it. Never cared for it. But yeah, threat, 150% is if you're tanking, you'd want to use that. Yeah, anyways. Then there's Sundering Sword here. Again, this isn't something you need to spec if you're low on points. You could probably do without the raid, you could do without the Sundering Sword, but if you got the points, you can do this kind of stuff. Now, Sundering Sword, it gives you recovery focus, right? But it's also a threat generator, so if you're not tanking, you don't want to spam it because you're gonna draw a threat. And if you're in fire mode, you don't have to worry about focus. If you're a Blade Master doing fire, you shouldn't be running out of focus, so you don't really need to use that either. But, I mean, just so you can see what it looks like, that's what it is. Okay, so this skill, if you got the points, you can put points into it. I use it. I'll just kind of throw it out as a threat generator sometimes. I rarely have any focus issues, so I don't really need it for focus regen. Again, fire isn't really, you don't think about focus and fire anymore. Okay, so then there's 5-point strike. I like to use this. This is the iframe version of it. This is the PvP version on the left tree. It'll aerial your enemy. Again, no aerials in PvE. But for the right tree here, this is a iframe. How it works is draw stance and then just do 3. And now it has 2 things to it. It generates, the more threat you have, the more damage you do. So if you're tanking, it's going to do more damage. Also, it's got the, what is it? Recovers 2 focus on a successful hit, and if you do use it for the iframe, which you're using it for, if you successfully iframe something with it, it lets you pop out a cyclone after it, which is the, I like cyclone, it's a pretty cool looking move. But again, if you're kind of low on points, you don't need to put points into this skill. It's an iframe. You can probably do without it, but I mean, if you got points, it's not a bad thing to spec. Yeah. But I mean, if you're using, you should really, I mean, if you're Blade Master with you should just be spamming Dragon Tongue. That's it. Just be Dragon Tongue spamming constantly. You shouldn't have to be hitting that. But I mean, you could use it for an iframe. I mean, that's really all it is an iframe. Now there's Steering Slash. Now this is an important skill. This is a Hong Moon skill here. You want to get this as soon as possible. You actually get this from the Royal Zenbean. So if you go to premium players can always buy it cheaper. If you go to the premium thing here, Royal Zenbean costs 4,500 Zenbeans. Zenbeans come from 3v3 1v1 arena, which is your F9 key. You can go into there. As soon as you get to about like level 30, you probably want to start doing a little bit of PvP, at least try and get 1 win a day of 1v1 and 1 win of 3v3. But yeah, sorry, this is a super important skill to have. Searing Slash is awesome. You can see it's going to increase your critical damage by 5%. It does inflict additional damage upon stunned, dazed, or grappled enemies. Generates 3 times the damage of threat. So good damage when you're tanking, especially. Yeah, and it's really easy to get Hong Moon skill. So I mean, just do some arena PvP. 4,500 Zen beans, not hard to get. I mean, you can see I got like 44,000 there. I don't really do much arena PvP. You should do like one match a day. That's it. I just want to get my Galaxy Fragment and the XP from it. But you can see steering slash is the pentagon that gets put down on the ground, right? And you probably noticed that if you've seen people do it. But yeah, definitely get that Hongmoon skill right away and spec it. You're going to have to put points into this for sure. Now, Soaring Falcon, I have the Hongmoon version of this. Is very important for Blade Masters, but it's not a cheap skill. This skill comes from the Opals. You're going to need the Opal of Silence, which is going for 84 gold right now. Normally that one I think is a bit more expensive. You can see, yeah, before the Trove and before they introduced that Duelist bundle, it was going for like 200 gold. You can see it's actually come down pretty decently right now. So if you want to buy it from there, you can get it from there. Opal of Silence and Opal of Darkness. Darkness is going for 100 gold. Yeah, a month ago was also about 200 gold. Came down with the Trove, and also probably that Duelist bundle. I mean, the Trove doesn't actually drop any of these Opals, so probably do the Duelist bundle. Brought the price down, but you can see the consumption rates up. Let's not talk economics here. And you also then need the Opal of Luminance. Now, the Opal of Luminance you can get for free from Grimhorn Wilds, which you go to Jade Stone, and you go to the Twisted Grimhorn Wilds, the 24-man zone. You should do that every day. Really good XP in there. And from there, you're going to get from the random mobs, you can get these keys: gold treasure chest key and regular treasure chest key. And then you're going to want a treasure room key. Like I've gotten, like you can buy the Opal with some of these Twisted Grimhorn orbs and 100 gold. Not a good idea. Don't do that. Try getting it for free from the room there, the treasure room. You're going to want like 2 gold keys, 2 regular keys, because 2 chests can appear in there every time you go in there. Actually, I think 3 keys, 3 chests can appear, 2 of each kind. So you want to have at least 2 gold keys and 2 regular keys before you go in there, but really high chance of getting the Opal from there. The Opal of Luminance, super easy to get. But yeah, back to the skill. This is super important Hongmoon Z skill. The more people you hit with this skill, it's gonna, what does it hit? Up to I think like 4 or 5 people. Yeah, it says here, blocks approach skills, 4 additional opponents are successfully consecutive hit. So it's gonna hit 5 people. First person it hits, it's gonna stun and pull to you. The other 4 people it hits, it's just gonna stun. But the more people you hit, the more it's gonna increase your AP. So let's take a quick look here. There's a big mob group up here. So for an example, I'm at 864 right now. I'm now 1597. It's going to last for 6 seconds. So that's a big burst increase, right? Now, again, this is getting the Opal for Hongmoon Z is, again, it's going to cost you like 200 gold, easily to 300-400 gold. It's very worthwhile having, especially for PvP. You know, being able to stun someone and pull them to you and stun all the people around them, pretty sweet, right? I mean, if you don't have the points in it, you can just spec it to a knockdown. If you go over here, it'll knock someone down. But I mean, having one knockdown isn't great. It's not, if you have CC for PVE, you want to have double CC because you want to be able to CC a boss on your own if you had to. You don't want to be throwing out one CC and hoping someone else follows up with a second CC. Blitzberg Scourge, you don't need to put anything in there. Now Boot, I use it for stun. You can also spec it for knockdown. I prefer stun because I have my 2 set for stun, so this way I can double stun bosses. I can do my 2 and my X, and I get a double stun in. Just like that, right? Now, Warding Spirit's a pretty cool skill. It works with your V and your X. So, gonna do my Phoenix Swing here, then I'm gonna have to pop my X. Now this is actually gonna protect me from ranged projectiles, so you can actually also protect your party members around you. So if you're ever in like a dungeon like Asura or Shatter Mass where you don't have a Force Master or a Summoner, you could, you know, protect your party from incoming projectiles that way. If you read the info on it, you'll see resist projectiles, party members within range. And it's actually really good for PvP. Pisses off Force Masters to no end. Blade Storm, this is a super important skill too. Now Blade Storm, your X there, this is going to let you do Fire Dragon effect for 6 seconds. That means you can spam your Dragon Tongue for 6 seconds non-stop. Super useful, right? Shoulder Charge, now I have it spec to days right now because I was using that for Ebondrake Citadel, but you want to spec it down here for the iframe. I kind of like the days, but I mean you don't want to be throwing out single days CCs on a boss, and I like that too. This, if you're suffering with trying to stay alive, this isn't bad as long as you control when you throw it at a boss, because you don't want to throw a daze out at the wrong time. The cooldown on this is 24 seconds, so you can regen 10% HP every 24 seconds versus the iframe, which lets you regen 10% HP every 36, right? But you do lose the 1.5 second iframe. Now, again, this is something you don't have to spec if you're low level and you don't have enough points. You could probably do without. Lightning Rod, no points needed in that. Phoenix Wing, super important. You're going to have to put points in it all the way down here. Now, Phoenix Wing is your V skill. I'll show you the combo that you do when you spam DPS. But your V skill here, it's your Flock of Blades, actually enhances your Dragon Tongue, increases the range of it to 3 meters, and is going to do an additional 800 whatever damage on your Dragon Tongue. And then you're going to put points into your S, so you have your SS, and that's it. So quick recap. Nothing in there. Flicker, you need to put points in. Cyclone, up to you. You can do it for threat, you can do it for no threat. Pierce, don't need no points into it. I put it in there because I got lots of points. Dragon Tongue, need points in it. Violent Blade, gotta have points in it, gotta have it down to here. This is your main block, and it also, you need to do it to rebuild your Dragon Tongue so you can spam Dragon Tongue. This is going to help you stay high DPS. Take Flight, don't need nothing in there. Tab, you need to have 3 points in there, coming all the way down here to let you spam Dragon Tongue for 3 seconds every time you hit it. Second Wind, up to you. Dazes, no daze, whatever. Block, you don't need points in here. If you do have the Hongmoon skill, you can go down here for the Hongmoon block. If you're low level, don't put any points in here. Rush, you can stun with this, you can aggro with it. So if you're tanking, you can spec aggro if you're having trouble holding aggro. Raid, you can spec aggro with this one also on the left hand. I just put points in it because I got lots of points. When I'm tanking, I will change it to threat. Sundering Sword, you don't have to put points in here if you don't want to. It's a threat developer focus, but if you're doing fire build, you don't need to worry about focus. I mean, you could put points in here. If you got points, put them in. Stirring Slash, definitely need points in here. The Hongmoon skill, you definitely want the Hongmoon skill. It's the easiest Hongmoon skill to get for Blade Masters. Soaring Falcon, this is a super important skill, but it's also very expensive, and this is something that you're going to have to get late game. It's not going to be easy for you to spend 400 gold on, what's it called, Hongmoon skill. Also, the Ophal's, Ophal of Darkness, we're not going to buy it. It comes from Grimhorn Wilds. I think Ophal of Silence comes from Shattered Mass. So you got to do the 4-man versions of those dungeons to get them to drop. Not something you could reliably farm. You're probably more likely to just have to buy it. Definitely do the dungeons. When you get lucky, you get it. You don't just save the money and buy it. Stun, you want to use this along with your 2. If you want to do a double stun, you can spec your 2, right? Oh, crap. Your 2 rush for stun, and your X boot for stun. I like to use that for stun CC, so I can throw out 2 stuns to double CC a boss, right? I don't think double CC may not always be explained in the best way, but whenever you look at a boss, he's going to have under his name, let's see if we can find one here, he's going to have, there's a see that? Okay, so he's open for CC right now. A lot of players, if you're new, you probably won't realize that. That means he can be CC'd. Goddamn, hold still ass. Okay, if they were white, he can't be CC'd. And if I throw a stun, this is going to say stun here. If I throw a second stun, it's going to say stun in both of them. They're both going to light up blue. If I throw a knockdown, they're going to go green. If I throw a daze, they're going to go red, and they're going to say daze, and they'll say knockdown, respectively. So that way you know what's being thrown. But yeah, so let me show you double stun on him. Ah, crap, he locked right up. Okay. Most mobs you can hit them at the start and get the... That's my tab. Okay, screw this. Okay, so let's talk about best Blade Master opening combo for PVE. That's actually what I use also for PvP when I'm doing open world on a big group. You're going to do Z, V, 4, tab, RMB spam, X RMB spam, tab RMB spam. Now if you're with a Warlock, you want to train that Warlock to time their soul burn that lets you finish your X RMB spam, and then they soul burn and you go with another X RMB spam. So I mean, you're not going to be able to get the full X RMB spam in because your time on while your V is up. It's a lot about timing, but you can actually get a lot of extra Dragon Tongues in that way, and it pisses off other people in the party. But you know, get your own pocket Warlock and you'll be fine. But your deeps will be huge. Okay, so it's just Z, which is your Hongmoon Soaring Falcon. Now if you don't have the Hongmoon skill, you're not going to do that. You're going to open with your V, then go to your 4, which is Searing Slash, then go to your tab, spam your RMB Dragon Tongue, then you can go to your X key, which when you're in your V Phoenix Wing mode, your X key in draw stance becomes your, what's it called, Blade Storm, which will let you spam Dragon Tongue for 6 seconds. So let me show you what it looks like. Then this is going to run out. I'm going to go to my X, spam that, let that run out. If I had a Warlock, I would now want to soul burn and spam X before that went away. Because you see there's that time where your Phoenix Wing will go away and you won't be able to get off a second. Like, so when someone soul burns, it refreshes a lot of skills. Now if you time it properly, you can have your V still up and you can spam out an extra X and get a bunch more Dragon Tongues in, but it's a very small window there, so the soul burn has to be at the right time. It helps if you're on Discord with the Warlock and you say soul burn now and blue buff, and that's when you kick it in and you can spam out some mad deeps, right? Let's let this cool down. But yeah, also thing to do is with your C, if it's an iframe, what is it? You should be able to cyclone off of that. If you, oh sorry, you don't have to actually hit somebody with it to cyclone off of it, because it readies your cyclone if you resist an attack. That's what it is. There's going to be some dungeons where, like a good example is Naru Foundry, second boss, where you have to step on these flowers, and what you want to do is you want to you want to SS onto one flower, then you want to C key onto the next one, which then lets you iframe it, then you want to cyclone into the third flower. Probably doesn't make any sense to anyone who hasn't done Foundry. Never mind. Alright, it's back up. So this is the combo again. And you're just spamming Dragon Tongue. Now once that's your main combo, once that's down, you're going to want to be flickering and dragon tonguing, and you want a violent blade. Now I can't violent blade and catch an attack and rebuild my dragons, respam dragon tongue, because dummies don't hit you. So yeah, but I mean basically that's what you're doing. That's where Blade Master DPS comes from. Now, if I could Violent Blade and catch an attack, I could then spam Dragon Tongue with my Violent Blade. But, you know, I don't have any attacks coming to me right now. So you'd be doing that, right? You'd spam Dragon Tongue with my tab. It runs out, or whatever the pattern of the boss is, where you then catch it. And I mean, I'll try and do a little bit after this where I do Foundry bosses. He's a really good one to have a pattern on, where you can just stand there and spam Dragon Tongue non-stop, because you can Violent Blade catches attacks pretty easily. Okay, let's talk about soul badges as a Blade Master. Now, there's Tower of Infinity, which is in Mushin's Tower. This is Mushin's, and this is Tower of Infinity on this side here. You want to come to this NPC here every day when you hit level 50. Even if you're weak and you can't get very high in Tower of Infinity, you need to talk to this guy and get your 2 entry badges, entry tickets. Now you get 2 a day, and you're going to want to get them and save them up to the point where you can get strong enough that you can do Tower of Infinity and maybe get up to floor 31 plus, because at that point you're going to earn enough of the fragments. So you get these fragments from winning in Tower of Infinity or just getting to a certain point in the floors. Floor 31 plus is ideal. If you can get higher than that, awesome. You can get more fragments. And you take the fragments and you put them together into Triumph token badges, which is this season. These are from last season. If you're not premium, you would talk to this NPC and you would buy a badge from him. If you are premium, though, you're going to buy it from the Dragon Express. So here's all the badges. The Magnum badge is actually pretty good. You can see it triggers conflagration effect for 2 seconds on a successful Searing Slash. So when you do your 4, it's going to let you spam Dragon Tongue for 2 seconds. So your rotation then would be a ZV4, RMB spam, tab RMB spam, X RMB spam, tab RMB spam. So you get an extra 2 seconds in there with that badge. That's pretty cool. Enhances Blade Storm. I don't see a better cooldown reset on Blade Storm. Resets cooldown on a successful Lunar Slash. I don't know if you could use that as an extra way to spam out another Blade Storm on your you do like a ZV4 tab RMB spam, then you'd go X RMB spam, then tab, and then X again, I suppose. I don't know, I haven't played with it, don't know. There's the Devotion badge I use this for PvP. It turns your Flash Step into a stun. So Flash Step, used on my PvP, let me show you here. Again, Flash Step you're not going to use for PvE, but I'll just show you guys here. See, Flash Step, I use that. It's an AoE, hits a bunch of people. I'm really strong, so it does like 20 plus K damage, but it's also a stun, so it keeps them standing there so you can hit them pow, 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 pow. Oh shit, wrong one. Okay, going back to soul badges, the Flicker badge is actually really cool. It's something to have, you don't need it. Basically all it is, it just lets you spam your Flicker non-stop. I mean, you can hold Flicker here and do some pretty good deeps, right? It just rebuilds focus, so you never run out of focus. It's kind of useful to have. You don't have to have it. Again, though, you can earn the badges for this season. The previous season badges you would have to buy. You can buy them from the marketplace. You can see the Fury tokens are going for 4 gold apiece, so you need 70 of them if you're premium, 90 if you're not. I wouldn't, as a Blade Master, if I had to buy badges right now, I would not spend gold on a Devotion badge or a Blue Moon Flicker badge. I wouldn't spend money on that. Now there's the Primal Force badge, which what it does is it gives you, is that the right one? There we go. This one here. Um, Gives you a 1.5 second iframe when you do your Z. So you can use that for when you're like, say you're fighting a boss. What you'll always do on the boss is this combo here. And what it does is it keeps you from being knocked back from the boss. Because every time a lot of times when you open up on a boss, he's going to kick you and send you flying, and it's going to fuck up your full combo. You're not going to be able to get your damage off. You're not going to be able to do anything really. So to avoid that first second or two there where you could eat it, that badge will give you an iframe for 1.5 seconds, and you hopefully don't get punched. Well, I mean, you're not going to get punted. I find though what I'll do is, especially because I play with a warlock, I'll just go up to the boss and I'll Hong Moon block, and then I'll start spamming my DPS combo, and that gives me a lot of time here of iframe, so without having the badge, I avoid being punted. And the soul burn will refresh my Hong Moon block and make it so if I need to use it for any party iframes, well, it comes back up, so not a big deal there. But yeah, so I mean, if you're new and you're coming up and you're like, well, I want a soul badge, just come here, get your entry tickets from that NPC right there, and until you're strong enough, like you're 650 AP or higher, you can at least get to third floor 31 and higher. Just every day get your entry tickets, save them up, and then you can spam them all at once. Once you find, I'm always winning floor 31 and higher, spam them out, get your tokens, get your soul badge, and I would go with, personally for me, I'm gonna get where is it here? Searing Slash. Now, I don't know about the Blade Storm. That might be cool to use, but because I run with a Warlock, in that window where your Blade Storm is available to you, I'm going to spam it a second time anyways, because my Soul Burn refreshes it, so I don't know. I'd have to talk to someone who's played with it. But I mean, I'm going to get this because it'll give me that 2 seconds after my Searing Slash, which I kind of like. Okay, so I want to show you guys how to use Violent Blade in a fight, and how to keep yourself just spamming Dragon Tongues, because as a Blade Master, that's pretty much what I want to do, is just be Dragon Tongue, non-stop. Should be like 90% of your attacks would be Dragon Tongue. Very little Flicker actually should be used. If you Violent Blade properly, you should be able to keep yourself in that state all the entire time. Alright, let's show here. So I've caught my Violent Blade there, and again there, and I'm just Dragon Tonguing. So I'm keeping myself a Dragon Tongue. Oop, I hit it there. And now I'm just Dragon Tongue again. Off my tab, off the Violent Blade. Searing Slash, tab. So it's about timing your Violent Blade properly, so you can just keep using. I mean, I can just keep Dragon Tonguing that way. I'm not even going for my tab. So that's a ZV. You have to do it really quick together to get the what's it called? To get your ZV. And then 4 off properly, but I didn't do my 4 there. Sorry. It's kind of hard to talk because I have to hold cap locks to talk and the recording to pick it up. It's easier when I don't have to hold my finger. That's actually a good thing to do, is if you turn around and SS at the enemy, you can use your SS and not be moved away from the person you're fighting, right? Just Violent Blade. Keeps you in Dragon Tongues, right? The more you practice it, and it's also about knowing the boss's moves, right? If you know what attacks and when they're going to come, and when you can catch them, because that's all it is. Violent Blade is just catching the attack and then spamming off some Dragon Tongues, and then knowing when to throw the next Violent Blade, so you can just keep it going continuously. So a lot of it is knowing the boss you're fighting and knowing what his attacks are going to be and which ones you can catch and when you have to stop doing Dragon Tongue and when you have to go back to Violent Blade block to catch it and then keep it going. And you know, you got your tab to rely on again, you got your Z, your V, and your 4, you can spam it all out, but basically it's just Dragon Tongue spam, Dragon Tongue spam. Okay, I hope that helps you. Anybody who's been thinking about playing Blade Master, anyone who's new to Blade Master and wasn't quite sure what to do for their skills, hope that kind of gives you guys a little bit of a heads up on what they are, how they work. What's the combos to use, the fighting style to use. Again, so just spamming your Dragon Tongue keeps you high DPS, making sure when your Phoenix Wing cools down that you use it again. You want to use your Searing Slash every time that cools down. You should be able to use your Z once you got that Hong Moon Z. It's just Z, V, 4, tab, RMB spam, X RMB spam, tab RMB spam, and then in between Dragon Tongue spam. That's all there is to it. If you do that, you will have high DPS and yeah, good times.